14 years of carefully crafted innocence evaporated in a single interview, and Robyn Brown sat there watching it happen in real time. The Sister Wives one-on-one special promised answers, but what viewers witnessed instead was something far more satisfying. We watched a woman who has spent over a decade positioning herself as the victim, the peacemaker, the one who just wanted everyone to get along, finally get confronted with the receipts. And folks, the panic in her eyes was absolutely unmistakable. When the host started pulling up footage from previous seasons, footage that directly contradicted everything Robyn was saying, you could practically see her brain scrambling for a new deflection strategy. This was not the softball interview she was expecting. This was an accountability session years in the making. Fans have been screaming into the void for what feels like forever, pointing out the inconsistencies, the manipulation tactics, the convenient tears that always seem to redirect blame away from Robyn and onto everyone else. For years, we were told we were being too harsh, reading too much into things, creating drama where none existed. Well, allow me to translate what this tell-all just confirmed. We were right. Every single theory about Robyn systematically working to isolate herself and Kody from the other wives, every observation about her undermining tactics, every suspicion about her playing the innocent victim while pulling strings behind the scenes, all of it was validated in spectacular fashion during this interview. The most devastating part was watching Robyn attempt her signature move, the tearful protestation of innocence, only to have it fall completely flat. When confronted with specific examples of her behavior, with actual footage rolling on the screen in front of her, the tears could not save her. Sources close to production say that even the crew was shocked by how poorly Robyn handled the direct confrontation. One insider put it bluntly, saying she came in expecting to control the narrative like she always does. But the format did not allow for her usual manipulation tactics. And that is exactly what made this tell-all different from every other reunion special we have suffered through. For the first time in Sister Wives history, Robyn Brown was forced to sit in the hot seat without Kody there to deflect for her, without the ability to change the subject, without the option to simply cry until everyone felt sorry for her and moved on. Let that sink in for a moment. After 14 seasons of watching this woman skate by while other wives took the blame, we finally got to see what happens when she is held accountable. The cracks in her carefully constructed narrative did not just appear, they exploded into full view. But before Robyn could even catch her breath from the opening questions, the first devastating contradiction destroyed her entire opening defense. The format of Season 20's one-on-one special was specifically designed to prevent the usual Sister Wives reunion nonsense, and it became clear within the first few minutes that production was done protecting anyone. This was not going to be another episode where Kody dominates the conversation while the wives sit in uncomfortable silence. This was not going to be another opportunity for Robyn to play the supportive partner while subtly throwing her sister wives under the bus. The producers had clearly decided that after 2 decades on television, it was time for some actual accountability, and Robyn walked into that studio having absolutely no idea what was about to hit her. She entered with her usual confidence, the same composed demeanor we have seen 1,000 times before. Sources say Robyn arrived with prepared talking points, ready to deploy her standard deflections about editing, about context, about how she is always misunderstood by fans who just do not see the full picture. But here is the thing about prepared answers. They only work when you know the questions in advance. The tell-all format worked against her in ways she clearly did not anticipate. Direct questions followed by footage playback followed by more direct questions. No escape routes, no Kody to rescue her. No ability to simply talk in circles until everyone forgot what the original question was. For years, fan theories about Robyn being the puppet master behind the Brown family's destruction were dismissed as conspiracy thinking by casual viewers. Those of us who have been paying attention knew better. We watched as wife after wife became estranged from Kody, always following the same pattern. We watched as Robyn somehow ended up with the biggest house, the most financial security, and the only intact relationship with the family patriarch, coincidence after coincidence after coincidence, until at some point you have to admit that maybe it is not coincidence at all. One former insider described it perfectly, saying, "Watch where the money goes and watch who ends up alone with Kody, and you will find your answer." This tell-all finally forced the accountability that fans have been demanding for years. No more hiding behind group dynamics. No more deflecting to other people's problems. No more weaponizing tears to shut down legitimate questions. The host came prepared with clips, with quotes, with evidence that could not be explained away. And Robyn, for the first time in her sister wives' career, had nowhere to run. The usual tactics tactics that have served her so well for so long were suddenly useless in the face of direct confrontation. According to those familiar with the production, the atmosphere in that studio shifted the moment Robyn realized this was not going to be the reputation rehabilitation tour she had hoped for. But the first truly devastating moment came when she was asked a simple question about timing, and her answer contradicted everything she has ever said before. When the host asked Robyn to pinpoint when she first noticed the marriages were failing, her answer sent shockwaves through social media, because what she said in that moment directly contradicted years of carefully constructed narrative. For seasons upon seasons, Robyn has maintained that she was blindsided by the family's collapse, that she was just as shocked as anyone when Christine left, when Janelle distanced herself, when Meri became increasingly isolated. But her answer during the tell-all painted a completely different picture. She essentially admitted to being aware of problems much earlier than she has ever acknowledged publicly. And folks, the implications of that admission are absolutely staggering. Let us talk about the Meri catfishing timeline, because this is where things get really ugly. During that period, Robyn has always claimed she was supportive of Meri, that she tried to help her sister wife through the scandal. The narrative has always been that Robyn was the compassionate one, the understanding one, the only wife who truly stood by Meri during her darkest moment. But footage from that era tells a very different story. We see Robyn discussing Meri's situation with Kody in ways that feel less like support and more like building a case for exclusion. We see subtle distancing, strategic positioning, the groundwork being laid for Meri's eventual isolation. When confronted with this footage during the tell-all, Robyn's explanation was so weak that even the host seemed unconvinced. Social media absolutely exploded in real time as fans watching the interview caught the contradictions. Twitter and Reddit threads were lighting up with side-by-side comparisons of what Robyn said during the tell-all versus what she said in previous seasons. The receipts were damning. One fan account compiled a video showing 17 different instances where Robyn's new claims directly contradicted her previous statements on camera. 17. Let that number settle in your mind for a moment. This is not about misremembering one or two details. This is a pattern of inconsistency so extensive that it can only be explained by deliberate narrative manipulation. Word on the street is that production specifically chose to include those footage playbacks because they knew what would happen. They knew Robyn's story would not hold up under scrutiny, and they were ready to expose it. One source close to the production said it bluntly, saying they have protected her for years, but ratings are ratings, and accountability drives engagement. Cold, perhaps, but also incredibly revealing about how expendable Robyn's protected status has become. The tell-all was not designed to rehabilitate her image. It was designed to finally let viewers see what has been obvious to dedicated fans for years. But the timeline contradictions were merely the appetizer in this feast of exposure, and the main course involved Christine's exit and Robyn's role in making it happen. The moment Christine's departure footage started playing on the studio monitors, Robyn's entire demeanor shifted in ways that cameras captured with devastating clarity. Her face went through a journey of micro-expressions that body language experts would have a field day analyzing. First the tightening around the eyes, then the forced neutral expression, then the subtle lip purse that always precedes her defensive responses. For someone who claims she wanted nothing more than for the family to stay together, her physical reaction to Christine's liberation told a very different story. Sources say that even the host noticed the shift and made a point of asking Robyn to explain what she was feeling in that moment. Her answer was textbook deflection. The specific incidents being discussed involved allegations of Robyn undermining Christine to Kody during the months before Christine finally decided to leave. According to reports from those familiar with the situation, Robyn would have private conversations with Kody where she would express concerns about Christine's attitude, about her commitment to the family, about her unwillingness to accept the family structure. On the surface, this might sound like reasonable communication between partners, but allow me to translate what was actually happening. Robyn was systematically positioning Christine as a problem that needed to be managed, a disruption to the family harmony that Robyn conveniently defined as her own household's peace. The contrast between Robyn's public statements and her private actions during Christine's final months is absolutely damning. Publicly, Robyn maintained that she wanted Christine to stay, that she tried to reach out, that she was heartbroken by the decision to leave. But the evidence suggests otherwise. Witnesses report that Robyn made little to no effort to actually connect with Christine during that period. Instead, she allegedly focused on reinforcing her position with Kody, making sure that if Christine did leave, Robyn's status would be secure. One insider described it as watching someone pretend to hold a door open while actively pushing it closed with their other hand. And honestly, that metaphor captures it perfectly. During the tell-all, when confronted with these allegations, Robyn attempted to reframe the narrative as a misunderstanding of her intentions. She claimed that her concerns about Christine were coming from a place of love, that she was simply trying to help Kody navigate a difficult situation. But the host was not having it. Follow-up questions pressed on specific instances, specific conversations, specific actions that contradicted the loving wife narrative. Robyn's responses became increasingly fragmented, filled with qualifiers and half-answers that only served to highlight her inability to provide a coherent defense. The audience watching at home could see exactly what was happening. The facade was cracking in real time. What makes this particular exposure so significant is that Christine has been thriving since leaving the family, a fact that seems to genuinely bother Robyn based on her reactions during the tell-all. Every mention of Christine's successful new life, her happy relationship, her close bonds with her children seemed to land like a small wound. Because if Christine could leave and flourish, what does that say about the family structure Robyn has been defending? What does it say about the necessity of Robyn's preferred hierarchy? Let that sink in for a moment. Christine's happiness is living proof that the system Robyn benefited from was never about family unity, it was about control. But Christine was not the only wife whose story exposed Robyn's tactics, and Janelle came to that tell-all with years of documentation that nobody expected. Janelle Brown walked into that studio with the energy of a woman who has been waiting years for exactly this moment, and she did not waste a single second of it. Unlike the emotional confrontations we might have expected, Janelle's approach was almost surgical in its precision. She came with documentation, she came with receipts, she came with a calm, methodical determination to finally set the record straight, and Robyn was clearly blindsided by the level of preparation. Sources say that Janelle had been compiling evidence for months, perhaps years, waiting for the right platform to present her case. The tell-all gave her exactly that opportunity, and she used it devastatingly. The property dispute revelations alone were enough to make viewers' jaws drop. For years, there have been questions about how the Coyote Pass land situation was handled, how financial decisions were made, and who benefited from those decisions. Janelle laid out a timeline of events that painted a picture of systematic financial marginalization. According to her account, decisions that affected all the wives were made primarily between Kody and Robyn, with the other wives informed after the fact if they were informed at all. The accusation is not just that Robyn benefited financially. The accusation is that she actively participated in structuring arrangements that disadvantaged the other wives, and the documentation Janelle presented supported every single claim. One particular moment during Janelle's testimony has become iconic among fans. When Robyn attempted to interrupt with her usual deflection about never wanting to cause division, Janelle simply pulled out another document and continued speaking. The message was clear. Your interruptions will not work here. Your tears will not work here. Your victim narrative will not work here. We are dealing in facts now. According to those who witnessed the filming, this moment created nearly a full minute of silence from Robyn, an eternity in television time. She literally had no response, no deflection, no excuse, just silence in the face of undeniable evidence. The financial accusations extended beyond the property disputes to everyday family spending. Janelle outlined instances where resources that should have been shared among all the wives and their children were disproportionately allocated to Robyn's household. The infamous mansion, the nanny during a period when other wives were struggling financially, the shopping trips and lifestyle upgrades that seemed to only flow in one direction. Janelle presented all of this not with anger, but with the weary resignation of someone who has finally accepted a truth they resisted for too long. Her words carried the weight of years of suppressed frustration finally given voice. What struck viewers most about Janelle's testimony was her refusal to be painted as bitter or jealous. She explicitly stated that her goal was not revenge but clarity. She wanted viewers to understand what actually happened, not the sanitized version that has been presented on the show for years. Sources close to Janelle say she felt a responsibility to the fans who have supported her to finally confirm what they suspected. The irony is absolutely staggering when you think about it. For years, Robyn has positioned herself as the reasonable one, the peacemaker, the wife who just wanted harmony. And now here was Janelle, the wife stereotyped as cold or distant, calmly and rationally dismantling every single one of those claims. But with two wives now on record exposing her tactics, only Meri's testimony remained, and what she revealed about her years of loyalty was perhaps the most devastating blow of all. The woman who stayed loyal the longest, who endured more rejection and isolation than any of the other wives, finally revealed the full extent of how she was treated, and her testimony cut straight to the heart of Robyn's manipulation tactics. Meri Brown has been the most confusing figure in the Sister Wives saga for many viewers. Why did she stay so long? Why did she continue defending Kody and the family structure even as she was clearly being marginalized? The tell-all provided answers. answers, and those answers implicated Robyn in ways that even her most vocal critics might not have anticipated. Because according to Meri, Robyn wanted her gone too. She just went about it more subtly than with the other wives. Meri's recounting of being systematically excluded from family events and decisions was difficult to watch. She described showing up for gatherings only to find she was not informed of changes in plans. She described being left out of conversations about family business that affected everyone. She described reaching out to Robyn, believing they were close, only to be met with excuses and delays, and eventually silence. The pattern was identical to what Christine and Janelle experienced, just stretched over a longer period. Sources say that Meri's testimony lasted nearly twice as long as initially planned because once she started talking, years of suppressed frustration came pouring out. The bed and breakfast situation received particular attention during Meri's testimony. For those unfamiliar, Meri has been operating a successful business in Utah, one of the few genuine entrepreneurial success stories to come out of this family. According to Meri, Robyn allegedly influenced Kody's attitude toward the business, framing it as Meri choosing to be away from the family rather than as a legitimate business endeavor. The result was that Meri's success was weaponized against her, used as evidence that she did not really want to be part of the family. Let that sink in for a moment. Work hard, build something successful, and watch it be twisted into a reason for your exclusion. The manipulation is almost elegant in its cruelty. The most emotional moment of Meri's testimony came when she admitted that she finally sees the pattern. For years, Meri defended Robyn against criticism. For years, she believed that their friendship was genuine, that Robyn was different from how she was portrayed by skeptical fans. The tell-all showed us the moment that belief finally shattered. Meri's voice cracked as she described reviewing footage from past seasons and realizing that the isolation she experienced was not random. It was systematic, it was coordinated, and Robyn was at the center of it. According to those familiar with the filming, this admission represented a turning point, not just for the tell-all, but for Meri's entire relationship with the Brown family. She had been the holdout, the one who continued to give Robyn the benefit of the doubt. Her testimony confirmed what Christine and Janelle had already established: three wives with three nearly identical stories of marginalization, exclusion, and manipulation. The statistical probability of this being coincidence or misunderstanding has effectively reached zero, but even cornered by three devastating testimonies, Robyn had one defense mechanism left, and watching it fail was perhaps the most satisfying moment of the entire special. The tears came exactly when you would expect them to, right on cue like a well-rehearsed performance, and for a moment it looked like Robyn might actually pull off another escape. The crying, the protestations of innocence, the claims of being misunderstood, we have seen this movie before. For 14 seasons, these tactics have worked beautifully. Whenever Robyn faced criticism, the tears would flow, Kody would rush to her defense, and somehow the conversation would shift from her accountability to everyone else's cruelty for making her cry. But this time, something remarkable happened. It backfired spectacularly. The host, to their eternal credit, did not take the bait. Instead of backing off or changing the subject, they pressed forward with additional questions. When Robyn claimed that editing made her look worse than she actually behaved, the host pulled up unedited footage that told the same story. When Robyn suggested that context was missing from the accusations, the host provided additional context that made things even worse. When Robyn fell back on her classic move of simply crying harder, the camera held on her face long enough for viewers to notice the absence of actual tears. Reports from those in the studio say you could feel the energy shift in the room as people realized the crying was not working anymore. Robyn then pivoted to another familiar defense: the editing argument. According to her, the show has consistently portrayed her unfairly, cutting footage in ways that make her seem more calculated than she actually is. This argument might hold water if we were talking about one or two incidents, but we are talking about 14 seasons. We are talking about hundreds of hours of footage. We are talking about a pattern so consistent that the idea of it all being editing manipulation is laughable. One production source put it bluntly, saying we cannot edit footage that does not exist, and we cannot make someone say things they never said. Robyn's words are her own. The fan reaction online was swift and merciless. Even longtime Robyn defenders, and yes, they do exist, started questioning her narrative. Social media was flooded with clips of the tell-all being analyzed frame by frame, with viewers pointing out the strategic timing of the tears, the carefully constructed deflections, the body language that betrayed her words. One comment captured the sentiment perfectly, writing 14 seasons of this woman crying to escape accountability facility, and we finally got to see what happens when it stops working. The schadenfreude was palpable across every platform. What made this particular failure so significant is that Robyn has built her entire public persona around being the emotional, sensitive wife who just wants peace. Without that shield, without the ability to deflect through tears and victimhood, what remains? The tell-all forced viewers to see Robyn without her primary defense mechanism, and the picture that emerged was not flattering. Desperate and cornered, with tears not saving her and editing excuses falling flat, Robyn made a decision that would create an even bigger problem. She tried to throw Kody under the bus, and in doing so, she accidentally exposed the full extent of their alliance. In attempting to save herself, Robyn made an admission that sent shockwaves through the Sister Wives fandom. She acknowledged, perhaps without fully realizing what she was revealing, that she and Kody had private discussions about the other wives and their problems. Now, on the surface, this might seem unremarkable. Of course, a husband and wife discuss family issues privately, but the nature of these discussions, as Robyn described them, painted a picture of something far more calculated than casual conversation. These were strategy sessions. These were opportunities for Robyn to shape Kody's perception of his other wives. These were the moments where the manipulation actually happened. The admission confirmed what fans have long suspected. Kody and Robyn operated as a team, and that team's primary function was to manage, marginalize, and eventually eliminate the other marriages. Robyn's description of these private conversations revealed a level of coordination that goes beyond the normal dynamics of a plural family. She spoke about discussing Christine's attitude. She spoke about analyzing Janelle's emotional distance. She spoke about evaluating Meri's commitment to the family. Notice who is always the subject of these discussions and who is always doing the evaluating. The power dynamic could not be more clear. When cameras turned to Kody after Robyn's revealing statements, his reaction was telling. According to those present at the filming, Kody's face went through a rapid series of expressions. Surprise that Robyn had revealed so much, anger at being implicated, and finally, a resigned acceptance that the narrative they had constructed together was collapsing. He did not deny Robyn's characterization of their private discussions. He could not because she had just confirmed them on camera. All he could do was try to minimize the implications, and he failed miserably. The revelation forced viewers to recontextualize every interaction they have watched over the past 14 seasons. Every time Kody seemed unreasonably hostile toward one of the other wives, was that hostility informed by Robyn's private commentary? Every time Kody made decisions that benefited Robyn at the expense of others, were those decisions the result of these strategic conversations? The answer, based on Robyn's own admission, appears to be yes. Let that sink in for a moment. Every single conflict, every marginalization, every instance of unequal treatment was potentially orchestrated through these private sessions between Kody and Robyn. Sources close to the couple say that this admission created significant tension even between Kody and Robyn after the filming concluded. Robyn, in her desperation to deflect blame, had exposed their shared culpability in a way that neither of them can walk back. She accidentally confirmed that they were a team working against the interests of the other wives. She accidentally validated every fan theory that has ever been proposed about their manipulation tactics. And she did it all on camera, preserved forever for viewers to reference. But the immediate aftermath of this exposure would prove even more explosive than what happened during the filming itself. Within hours of the tell-all filming wrapping, the reported activity behind the scenes was absolutely chaotic. According to sources with knowledge of the situation, the Brown family group chats, which apparently still exist despite everything, exploded with messages. Adult children who had watched their suspicions confirmed were reportedly reaching out to their mothers with messages of support and validation. Some were reaching out to Kody and Robyn with very different messages. The family, already fractured beyond repair, was experiencing aftershocks that threatened to sever whatever fragile connections remained. The social media activity from all parties in the days following the tell-all was particularly revealing. Christine posted about embracing truth and moving forward. Janelle shared a cryptic message about the power of documentation and receipts. Meri went dark for several days before emerging with a post about new beginnings. But Robyn, absolute radio silence. For someone who typically cannot resist responding to criticism, the complete absence of any public statement spoke volumes. Insiders suggest she was advised by professionals to say nothing until the full tell-all aired, but her silence only fueled speculation about just how damaging her performance actually was. Reports indicate that several of the adult Brown children have become increasingly vocal about their support for their mothers and their disappointment disappointment in their father and Robyn. The tell-all apparently confirmed things that these children had suspected but could not prove. Watching the footage, seeing the documented evidence, hearing the testimonies, it provided validation for years of quiet frustration. One source close to the family described the children's reaction as a mixture of vindication and grief. Vindication that their perceptions were accurate, and grief for the family unity that was destroyed by people who claimed to value it most. The question of whether Robyn will continue participating in the show has become a topic of intense speculation. Sources familiar with production discussions suggest that the network is weighing their options carefully. On one hand, Robyn's presence guarantees drama and engagement. On the other hand, her credibility with viewers has been so thoroughly destroyed that her continued participation might actually alienate the audience rather than attract them. The calculation is purely business, and right now the business case for Robyn remaining a central figure is looking increasingly weak. Speculation about the upcoming season direction centers on whether the show can survive this level of exposure and family fracture. The original premise of Sister Wives was about a family making plural marriage work. That family no longer exists in any meaningful sense. What remains is one functional marriage, 3 former wives who have found happiness elsewhere, and a host of adult children navigating complicated relationships with their parents. The tell-all might have been intended as a way to create buzz for future content, but it may have actually revealed that there is no future content worth creating. But the biggest revelation about what comes next for this family came in the final moments of the tell-all, and it changed everything about how we should view this entire saga. The systematic unraveling of Robyn Brown's carefully constructed narrative represents a turning point, not just for Sister Wives, but for how we understand reality television manipulation itself. Timeline lies spanning 14 seasons exposed, 3 separate wives providing nearly identical testimonies about isolation and marginalization, documented, attempted defenses through tears and victimhood failed spectacularly, accidental admissions exposing coordinated manipulation with Kody, captured forever on camera. This tell-all did not just damage Robyn's reputation, it demolished the entire mythology that she and Kody have been selling to viewers for over a decade. The implications for Robyn and Kody's public image going forward are severe. They position themselves as the stable core of the family, the relationship that worked when others failed. That positioning required viewers to believe that the other marriages collapsed due to the failures of the other wives. The tell-all exposed that narrative as a deliberate construction designed to obscure their own role in those collapses. Every interview they give from this point forward will be viewed through the lens of these revelations. Every claim they make will be met with skepticism that did not exist at this level before. They have lost something that cannot be recovered. They have lost plausibility. Whether Sister Wives can survive this level of exposure and family fracture remains an open question. The show has always depended on the illusion that despite their conflicts, this family was fundamentally committed to each other. That illusion is now impossible to maintain. What remains is a documentation of systematic manipulation, financial inequality, and emotional abuse that happen to be captured by cameras. Some viewers will continue watching out of morbid curiosity. Others will feel that the story has reached its natural conclusion, the family is destroyed, the truth is out, and there is nothing left to say. The final question viewers are left to ponder is one that cuts to the very heart of this entire saga. Do you think Robyn genuinely did not realize she was the problem? That she was so wrapped up in her own narrative that she could not see the damage she was causing? Or was this all calculated from day one, a deliberate strategy to position herself as the primary wife while eliminating her competition? The evidence presented during the tell-all supports the second interpretation, but only Robyn truly knows what was in her heart. What we know for certain is that the innocent victim story is finished, the truth is finally out, and karma, it seems, has a very long memory.